Hello everyone, this is Andy Ruhl from the DesmoSouthwest Ducati Club. I'm out here at Indy Motorsports Ranch, the racetrack. I'm going to talk about tires on the Ducati Panigale V4, which I have a little bit of experience with. First, a little bit of background about me. I was an expert level racer about 15 years ago or so. Haven't been racing for quite a while, but I've been doing track days pretty regular since then. I consider myself fairly fast, so I have some idea of how tires work. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about, and a lot of people are asking about tires for the Panigale V4, which is kind of a problem, at least it was, because the bike came with a new size. It's a tire size that was introduced in World Superbike through the middle of one of the seasons. I believe it was 2017 or 18, and the size is 200/60 17. Obviously all wheels are 17-inch on sport bikes these days. So anyway, we had one choice of tires basically for street tires, and it was the stock tires, the Supercorsa V3, which is a new design. It had sort of race tire compound on the sides and a street tire compound right down the center, and seemed like a good idea. In practice, I believe it was not so good. I remember riding on the street just up our local mountain, and the side of the tire looked like I did a race, and I had just ridden up, street pace up a mountain, and I thought, this isn't going to last very long. And so I did a few track days on it just after that, and it really didn't last very long. I think I got, of good solid use out of it after, 800-900 track street miles. I think maybe I got an hour out of it on the track before it started really sliding. And it was an expensive tire, and I wasn't so happy. So I started doing more track days, and I just went to the Supercorsa Slick, which is a much better tire for this bike for the track. If you're doing track days, I highly recommend the Supercorsa Slicks, and they come in the right size, 260. It's the same as the World Superbike tire. I ran two compounds. I ran the SC1 and the SC2. I mostly run the SC2 just because it lasts a little longer, and I'm not trying to set track records. The SC1 might work a little better for some conditions. You might talk to your Pirelli tire person about which one you want to run. For me, I get more life out of the SC2 than the SC1, which is kind of what I want for what I'm doing. But for the longest time, that was the only two choices we had on this bike, which was the street tire, which I don't recommend, honestly. It's not very good, and the slick. But Pirelli recently came out with the Rosso Corsa 2, which is what I have on here now, in the correct size, 200/60. Now before this, I ran a Rosso Corsa, which is the same tire that comes stock on the 959 Panigale, which is a nice tire, works great. Up to a certain pace on the track, you can go pretty quick on it. Sticks good, works good on the street. Tends to wear out a bit, and you'll start getting some slips once you've worn it out, but it's predictable. It's a good tire. But it was 200/55, which on this bike, it works. It's for the street, it's probably fine. For the track, it wasn't so good, and I'll kind of get into that. So, by the way, there's going to be some bikes coming around the track you might hear. For the street, it's kind of nice actually, because it shortens the gearing a little bit, which is okay because these bikes are geared pretty tall. So it's kind of fun, right? You twist the throttle, the front end comes up, but it does affect the handling quite a bit. The tire is much shorter, so the back end is much lower, and it doesn't turn the way you want it to turn. So I did do a track day with it. I think I did 2 track days with it actually, and it works. It doesn't get into the corner the way you want. It feels like the back end's too low, so it feels like the bike is kind of rotating around like this instead of tipping in like this. It's kind of doing this. I'm not an expert on chassis geometry, so somebody else can explain that one to me, but it's again, it's doable. A 255 is doable. For the street, it's probably fine. For the track, not so much. The other thing it did at the track was shorten the gearing. At this particular track, I'm running most of the infield in second gear. I was screaming it much harder with the shorter tire and probably hitting the red line a few times. And with this 260, I'm back to where I want to be with gearing. So I actually rode this tire for the first time around the track last night for maybe 15-20 laps. I didn't push very hard, but so far it's been really good. And I'm really happy with it so far as a street and sort of track day tire. And I think I'm going to keep buying this tire. When I want to go hardcore at the track, I'm still going to use slicks. And I did happen to get a set of Dunlop Moto America slicks from Kyle Wyman, which are they're Dunlop, so they don't have the Pirelli the profile, the same profile as the Pirelli, but they are the sort of correct size, right? It's a 200/60. Anyway, I'm going to try to ride that one at Chuckwalla in a couple of weeks and see how that one works. That'll be my sort of 5th tire I've tried out on this bike since I got it. Looking forward to it, but so far I'm really happy with this Rosso Corsa 2 for the street and the track, and I think you should try it if you have a Panigale V4, especially if you're sick of paying for the stock tire, which doesn't last very long at all and is more expensive than this tire. So anyway, I highly recommend this. This is a little bit of an addendum. I went back and watched the video and I forgot to say a few things about the 255 tire. I was just talking about the Pirelli Rosso Corsa. I think any 255 probably would work pretty well, but you do have to run tire calibration. There's a mode in the dash that you can get into tire calibration. You have to ride the bike in a straight line between 28 and 32 miles an hour, something like that, for a period of time, and that calibrates the electronics, traction control and so forth. If you don't know how to do that, go to your dealer. They can show you how to do it. They might even do it for you. And then the other thing I wanted to say is about the 255, it will change the handling of the bike. I'd said it's probably fine for the street, and it probably is. But if you're riding fast enough on the street for it to really bother you, meaning when you turn into a corner, it's not going to get down into the corner as quick as it would with the taller tire. If you're riding that fast on the street, probably you should be doing track days. Right, so if it affects you that much and you really don't like it, you're kind of going too fast. I did plenty of street miles on the 255. It was just fine. It stuck just fine. Didn't turn the same way as this. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't as good on the track. It's much more noticeable, and you really do want to be running this tire, the 260. Hopefully that covers it.